It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe,
Hey, gang.
Les Webster,
Hello, all.
and Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi.
How are you?
Hope everybody's doing okay out there. So, what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well, I guess I'm kind of like last week. I haven't really done anything. And that's sad because we just had a 3-day weekend, But yeah, I've been doing a lot of research, so not really anything interesting.
Nothing fun, huh?
No, nothing fun at all. Yeah, maybe next week.
Maybe yes, maybe no.
Mhm.
Maybe, but there's a very, very, very large maybe there
All right.
for sure.
Okay.
Well, all right. So much for my research time.
Hmm.
I'm kidding. I would never do that. I could never possibly focus that well.
All right.
I'm
I
not
didn't say it was easy.
I don't even lie to myself about multitasking. I don't believe in multitasking, but that's probably a topic of conversation for another time. Okay, so my deal, I have to find it. It was like a week or so ago. I got called out. Actually, like 10 days ago. So somebody who will remain nameless until he incriminates himself posted something in the Discord calling me out. And it was a video, a YouTube video called Vampires Gone Wild, the craziest vampire films you've probably never seen. And I didn't really feel called out in that moment, but I was like, I'll check it out. I'm curious to see how many of these vampire films that I've probably never seen that I've seen. And I was a little disturbed. I mean, it was the video was fun. It was cool. It was informative. It had 13 films listed. And for some reason, by the time I got to the end, it bothered me that I had only seen 8 of them.
Do you watch the other 5?
That felt like not enough. I am going to, and I have watched one of them. I have now seen 9 of them.
Huh?
Because I watched a little movie called Vampire Circus. This is from 1972.
He's saying what was going through my head.
Of course it was. That's what goes through everybody's head when they think circus.
Oh, we have to think circus for that?
No, not really.
Good.
Some of us usually do, but we're not judging. No judging at all. This was one of the 2 of them, and I need to go back and get the list again. I didn't write them down at the time, but 2 of them stuck in my head, and this was one of them. The other one I actually had trouble finding. It was the one I wanted to see more, but I didn't find it immediately because apparently Tubi has it listed under a Spanish title. But anyway, the reason that those 2 stuck in my head was because they were the 2 Hammer pictures that I hadn't seen. Because I've watched all of the ones with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. This one and the other one don't have Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, so they had slipped through the cracks on me. The Vampire Circus doesn't really star anyone all that well known. There are a couple of familiar faces in it, not the least of which would be the guy who played the strongman in the circus, which, not surprisingly, was David Prowse, because he played
Okay.
strongman in a lot of stuff for Hammer back in that time frame and other studios. He wasn't Hammer exclusive.
Hmm.
Actually the other two familiar faces were also bit characters. They were the twins, the vampire twins, because Vampire Circus. But they were Robin Sachs and Lalla Ward, who actually did look fairly similar to each other in this movie. I don't believe they are actually related, but they definitely looked like twins, strangely. But yeah, I mean, overall it's a Hammer vampire movie. I mean, it's exactly what you expect. They pretty much, by 72 they had the formula down. I mean, they have the vampire who gets destroyed at the beginning, and in this case, puts a curse on the town. It's a small Eastern European town that they made up, basically, where everybody had conspicuously British accents, but I digress. So yeah, so they curse him, and with his dying breath, he sends one of his lackeys to track down his cousin, who runs a circus. And of course, his cousin is a vampire too, as are about half of the people in the circus. And the circus has, with circus shows up in town like 20 years later in the middle of a plague, which, I mean, other than making it difficult to call for help, that I can't think of any other reason why there would be a plague going on in the middle of this. But with a very small amount of research, the townsfolk figure out that, oh yeah, this circus shows up, and the people in town start dying after a couple of days, and they're like, oh, but it's been a week. They're like, yeah, guess what? People are missing. Duh. And then there's a bunch of stuff, and they're basically focusing on the children of the people in charge when they killed the count, because of course it's a count, because all vampires are counts apparently. Um,
Some of them are no accounts.
Big time. This one was. He spent all of about 10 minutes in this movie
Okay.
animated, alive. He spent the rest of it dead. But yeah, so they start killing off these kids, and finally they save the oldest one for last, who's they were vague on how old she is, but she actually wasn't in town when they first showed up. So, and she's the one that is the one that the other people save. Although there's a fairly high body count in that end battle, but I think 3 people walk away from it. And it started with like most of the male population of the town, but anyway. So it's not special or anything, but it's not bad. I mean, it's, like I said, very typical Hammer vampire movie. Nothing particularly stands out. I don't think Dave Prowse has any dialogue. The dwarf they had, who was somebody I've never heard of before, did a lot of shouting, but he was kind of the barker anyway. But yeah, I mean, nothing special. It wasn't bad. I mean, I would hesitate to call it a greatest of anything, but
Okay.
okay, it said craziest, not greatest. I'm sorry, my bad. Eh, okay, the circus thing was an interesting twist, but I mean, other than that, it's pretty standard fare. I wouldn't say don't watch it. It's fun.
Cool. I'll probably have to watch that one though.
You won't hear that song. It's not in the movie.
Yeah, right.
You'll have to bring that song to it yourself.
Dun, 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 dun.
It wasn't in Killer Circus Clowns either.
Did it show up in it at all in any of its incarnations? I don't.
I don't think so.
I've only
I
seen
don't
part
know.
of the original. I wasn't really interested in the remake.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've watched the original. I haven't seen the new ones. Just haven't been motivated to do that yet.
Hmm.
I mean, it's hard to top Tim Curry, you know?
That's the trick.
It's like I've seen the best, so
Right. The other guy I'm sure is good and all, but
yeah, what with Scarred or whatever his name
Yeah,
is.
yes, Skarsgård.
yeah, I heard he was good, but
But is he Tim Curry good?
Probably
I don't know.
best to
I hadn't
judge him
seen
on
either
his
one. Yeah,
probably best to judge him on his own merits and not compare
yeah.
him to Tim Curry. But eh,
Well, it's kind of hard when they're in the same movie and they're both Pennywise, though. So
it
you kind
is.
of have to compare
Uh,
it. You know.
yeah, that's what I got.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Less.
So I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, it's on Tubi.
Mhm.
I decided to go to the movie theater, and I did not get to see what I wanted to see because at the time I wanted to see it, it was not showing. One of the earlier shows kept me from seeing it, so I took in uh, the new Kerry Washington movie. Um, Now I can't think of the name of it, but it had a lot of different twists to it, which was kind of cool. She and the man who played her husband were agents that were of an agency, a U.S. agency that believed that if you sign up with them, you don't get to retire, you don't get to quit.
Hmm.
Mark Strong is in it, who I really like,
Yeah.
and I couldn't tell you the name of the main male character, but it was good.
Shadow
It had,
Force.
thank you. Yes, Shadow Force was interesting. It was strong enough to carry the movie, and I thought I wasn't gypped by any means.
Cool.
Thing was, I went and they said they showed me the layout and asked me if I wanted the seat that was picked for me, and I said, "Here, I'd like to move over."
Hmm.
And they did. I went in, sat down, ready for the picture. I was the only one in the damn theater,
Ooh, ouch.
which kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies, but luckily I was not in problem there. So
And the movie
Everybody
was.
else was watching Mission Impossible, probably.
Mm.
I think you're right.
Or
They had
Lilo and Stitch came out too.
no, Lilo and Stitch comes out this week, doesn't it?
Oh, okay. I thought it came out. Well, no, I thought it came out for Memorial Day weekend.
Well,
See.
that could very well be. but I didn't see anybody in line for Lilo and Stitch, but there were a lot of people in with Tom Cruise. So I enjoyed that. It was,
I heard he showed up in Dallas somewhere for the opening of that.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yep. Lilo and Stitch made $183 million at the box office this weekend.
Well, that's a pretty good opening.
Mm-hmm.
it's better than what Disney has received in prior weeks. That's for
Yep.
damn sure.
Well, and this is the live action version, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
got to be the best opening they've had for a live action
and
movie.
if you,
Yeah, because I
adaptation.
mean, Snow White lost like 113.
mm-hmm. But if you compare them, though, the director of this movie, he loved the source. He loved the story. You know, from my understanding, half the people in Snow White didn't care for the story, so they didn't care if it was changed or not. Um, One of the big problems they said they had was Cantu is not in this, which was one of the villains in the original. And he's like, man, I so bad wanted to make that work, but everything we did, it just didn't come across right. You know, he was the only thing we couldn't make live action. And if you look at him, he looks like a big catfish, I guess, kind of looking alien thing. So I get it, but I respect that he tried, you know?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I it's a whole different of respecting the source and keeping it authentic because that's what everybody fell in love with, you know. All the actors are Hawaiian. It's a Hawaiian story, you know. So I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed on it. I think my daughter-in-law is gonna go watch that this weekend. So and I get to watch the baby.
Ah, I wondered how that was going, how that was working out like that.
Eh, yeah,
Why you cared that your daughter-in-law was going to see it?
give me my plan.
Now, the baby or the baby?
The baby. She's taking the other one with her.
Ah, that makes sense though.
Yeah, which we went out to eat with the
See,
baby.
see, and watch out for that other one shit because that's where you're going to get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, man, she's. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting off track. I'm sorry. Never mind.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
With how loud the place was, you know, because it was also my son's birthday, so we went to Texas Roadhouse, and they
Ah,
do the whole cowboy hip and holler kind of thing, you know.
Oh,
mhm.
and he was proud of that, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah. Oh, he loves to be embarrassed. I don't think you can embarrass that kid, you know. But baby never flinched. I mean, she just like snoozed. She's so laid back and chill that it's like, wow.
She literally thought, fuck that noise.
Yeah, it's like whatever. But yeah, I was like, yeah, usually your second one is your more calm one. And I think part of that is as parents, we're no longer in that, oh my God, I'm gonna break it and oh my God, what am I gonna do? You know, kind of thing. You're a little bit more in your role so the baby's comfortable.
Right,
Plus,
you've done it before, and so you have a sense of what you're doing.
yep.
I
And
think it
plus for the
matters.
last 9 months, she's heard Leanne and us, you know, running around screaming and playing and, you know, it's not a quiet environment that she had,
Right.
you know.
Yep, it's
Yeah,
different.
she's absolutely perfect though.
Good.
So
You're not
B is the
biased at
calm.
all.
Right.
Not at all.
So B is the calm one. I never would have figured that.
Yep, James was my wild child. Yeah,
Never would have
I'm
figured that.
I'm pretty sure B would
never.
agree with that statement too.
hmm
Yep.
So Les, what was
Yes,
the movie you didn't get to see because you watched Shadow Force?
I wanted to go see Fight or Flight.
Oh, right.
which is the new one with not Whedon, Dommel. Wanted to see that because I wanted to see a movie about somebody on an airplane with a lot of killers.
Right.
Oh. We talked about that one last show, didn't we? Or was
Mhm.
that like
Yes.
Yeah, I think it did come up.
pre-show?
Yeah, he brought it up. Yeah.
That one did sound interesting.
But it stopped its run that day, so I didn't get
No.
to see it.
Oh. Ew. That's a bummer.
Oh well,
That means
like
it's
they
going to be
say,
available on demand here pretty
Right.
quick then.
You'll be able to stream it any day now.
like we used to say, tonnage.
It is so amazing how they have shortened that schedule.
Yeah,
Because you remember it used to be that, well, first of all, the movie would be in the theaters for what, a good 4 months, maybe not that long, but it
Right.
would
If
be
it really
6,
tanked, it would be shorter than that. But yeah,
right,
it wasn't unusual for 3 or 4 months.
and then 6 months to a year later, it may be out on VHS or DVD, and then a little time after that, then it's going to be on cable, and it's like it's been shortened to just a couple of months. I mean,
If that.
if that, because I mean, um, Captain America: Brave New World's is on Disney Plus now,
yeah.
and that
Mhm.
came out on Valentine's Day, and it's in that now we're here at the end of May, and it's already on streaming.
Mm-hmm. And they could have done it faster. They were
They,
doing it faster back in the
yeah,
dark times
yeah,
because nobody was going to the theaters back then.
right.
Yeah, there's a new one coming out that I hope stays around a little bit. The Phoenician. Oh, what is it?
Boy, we're all having problems with names today. I don't know what it is.
Mm,
Yeah,
Oh,
Brain fog is catchy.
mm,
it is. We all caught Liz's brain fog.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's a digital problem.
brr.
Right. I even have the
thanks,
fan on.
Liz.
It's too thick. It's not
Brr.
helping. Yeah, let me blow some foghorns in here.
Oh,
But that's about what I've got.
okay,
Cool. You
Yep.
went
cool.
outside this week.
Mm.
I'm impressed. I mean, I did too, but that's a different story.
Mm. Um, not a whole lot on my end. I was I spent a lot of last week heading out to another town for family stuff. Crazy to spend 40 minutes in the car and then witness a presentation that lasts 30 minutes and then another 40 minutes to go back home. And you do it 3 times.
That's the trick, is if they couldn't coordinate it any better than that. They couldn't do 2 in a day or something. Jeez. Make it worth the trip.
But it was fun. I actually did it 5 times in just under a week, and 6 in about a week and a half. So it's like, okay, I'm tired of going over there. I'm ready to stay home for a
Right.
bit.
It's a nice place and all, but kind of done.
Yeah. Ah.
It's for a
But
good cause.
oh yeah, it was, yeah. I mean, it's not like I didn't want to be there. It's just the getting over
Hmm.
there because I'm having to deal with, you know, idiot drivers like we all do.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yay, idiot drivers.
So that's pretty much it on my end. So I guess on that note, let's go ahead and take our first break, and then we'll get back in with this week's discussion. Welcome back. We are starting Classic TV Month. Ta-da!
Woo!
So the next few weeks we'll be talking about we're just focusing episode per series per episode. We're not gonna double up or anything. I think we've done that before, but we won't do that this time. So we're gonna look at some classics. I think all these are from the 60s. I didn't do that on purpose. I didn't do a theme or anything, but it just happened to work out that way. So today's episode we are gonna talk about I Dream of Jeannie. Starring Barbara Eden, Larry Hagman, among others. Ran for 5 years. What was it, 139 episodes?
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of TV movies, although Hagman was not involved with those.
He was busy. Those were in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got Wayne Rogers to do it, so hey, that kind of works.
Yeah, all right.
I don't know if I watched the movies. If I did, it was probably like a TV event or something, you know.
Yeah. There were movies made for TV. So, but, let's talk a little I Dream of Jeannie.
I guess I grew up watching this in reruns.
I imagine so.
Yeah, different kind of concept. I liked it. Yeah. I don't know what to say. It was a good one. Good, clean fun, you know. I had noticed though that the final episode was actually May 26th, which was yesterday. I don't know if you did that on purpose or not.
No.
Oh, say you did.
Yep. I was gonna say that was pretty cool thinking that.
Yeah, that was totally intentional. Sure.
Yeah.
Don't give me that much credit.
But I don't think they knew that was going to be their last episode because it didn't really wrap anything up or, you know, and I think that's why they later on did the movies, but
Well, that's what a lot of TV shows did back then, unless they were just.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, even the ones that were canceled like mid-season or something, they weren't
They
given
let it
enough.
go.
They just let it go,
let it go.
Right.
and
Well-
nobody really cared.
Well, and with a sitcom, I mean, in most cases, you don't really have like an ongoing storyline to follow through on.
Right.
It's just sort of the joke of the week or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's maybe a little less true today than it was back then, but for sure back then it was just, yeah, there was no, I mean, the fact that there was any story progression at all through this series was, almost coincidental. It didn't really have anything to do with the story so much as they kind of had to. I think they were running out of ideas for ways to hide Jeannie, and so they're like, okay, we got to find a way to make it so we don't have to hide Jeannie anymore.
Yeah. To me, this one kind of followed the same. I don't know, not dialogue, but the same kind of concept, I guess, that I Love Lucy did. But instead of trying to break into show business, she was trying to get married to the captain, Tony Nelson. You know, kind of but the same kind of zany comedy, you know,
Sure.
woman acting crazy kind of thing. Yeah.
Kind of that same template.
Yep. But like you guys were saying, not really a storyline that you're following. There was kind of one there, you know, will they, won't they kind of thing. But
Right. Yeah, playing off that relationship that
which to me, I think the biggest mistake they did was when they got married. It kind of it changed that, because now it's no longer will she. She did, you know.
And how often has that been the case?
Right.
I mean, geez, pretty much every time it's come up. How many shows you could probably list on one hand the number of shows that made that transition work
Hmm.
because it usually just killed them.
Mhm.
That's what Sheldon said about it. He
Yeah.
felt that it was the pressure that he received from the uppers to make the two of them get married that killed the show.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree with him.
Well, because where do you go after that? For them it was, will he give in? And once they do, it took that reason for her to be sneaky and behind it. You know what
Well,
to
and
Yeah.
make them fall in love with me kind of thing. It took
it
that oomph from it.
it just turns it into a mediocre ripoff of Bewitched,
Yep.
where they're just trying to hide her powers all the time.
Yep. And
And
her belly button.
they had already, well, the belly button was kind of a different thing, but that was a censorship issue. But
Right. Yeah. But yeah. So it just kind of didn't have that same,
Flair.
yeah,
yeah,
it changed the dynamic too much.
it did.
Well,
And their chemistry.
Hmm.
He
and
no
to play.
longer, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying he no longer had to hide that he really did care about her, which was sometimes half the fun.
Well, and to play devil's advocate, if they hadn't done that, would the show still lasted as long? Because everything it's the same thing over and over this week, which is when I was going to get to my part, that was part of my problem with the show.
We'll
Is
see.
it was the same thing over and over again. She's doing something to try to please him. It goes awry. He's trying to cover it up, and you got Major Healy trying to help him and all that. And then here comes Dr. Bellows, sees what the hell's going on, and then tries to inform superiors of what's going on. But by the time he's able to get somebody to look into it, they've got it resolved, and he looks like the idiot.
Yep.
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 That's really been my main. They're great actors.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're great
For
actors.
sure.
They did a great job. I just hated that. That's why I can't really watch a lot of these because it's the same thing over and over and over again. And after it's kind of like the whole thing when we talked about Gilligan's Island. You know,
Mhm.
someone
Yeah.
someone shows up on the island. They do everything to help him or her get back to the mainland in with with the hope of sending help back to them, and that doesn't happen. And then tune in next week when the same thing happens again.
Yeah.
It really gets old. It gets
It
dry.
does.
Right. That lack of story
Hmm.
kind of grates on you after a while. And honestly, that series lasted 5 years, that was a pretty long life for a show
That,
like this back then,
that's
because
true.
Mhm.
mainly for that very reason, because people just lost interest in them. And
Hmm.
so they would just come up with a different one that had the same problem. That's because they're living and dying by that template. That this is how the show works, and this is what people think is funny. I mean, they do still do that to some extent today, which is one of the reasons I have trouble with sitcoms in general. It just it's a whole lot of effort for the cheap laugh, and the cheap laugh only goes so far. I mean, this show did it well while it did it. Um, it was relatively successful for at least 4 of those seasons.
Mm.
Yeah, it changed after that for sure. And unfortunately, in this case, not for the better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it certainly wasn't because of, like Liz said, it wasn't for a lack of talent.
Yeah.
I mean,
But like I said, it's an amazing cast.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's an amazing cast because, I mean, Bill Daly, I mean, great comedic actor. Larry Hagman, I mean, think about this. He's a lovable astronaut, and then 10 years later, he's the most hated man on Earth as J.R. Ewing.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't do that without two things: really good writing and, honestly, really good acting.
Really
Yeah.
good talent, yes. They did pull it off, yes.
Hmm.
Especially when this was such a memorable role.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Les, your thoughts?
Looking back at the pilot episode, I was trying to figure out why they were having problems figuring out who Jeannie was when she was introduced to people, including Dr. Bellows. Hayden Rourke, I thought, was great.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
But later in the series, he didn't put two and two together that the Jeannie that Tony saw was Jeannie he was introduced to in the series. I thought, how do you get away with that?
Yeah.
And of course, in the first episode, Tony was to marry the daughter of one of the generals just before, about a week or 2 weeks before he returned from the island where he found Jeannie. But no one thought about hooking the two parts of the story. So I was, I personally, I was a little bit stunned by the lack of the uh, the thought process there. And of course, it was kind of weird to see this pilot and not hear the music when it started.
Ding, ding,
Dun,
ding,
dun,
ding,
dun, dun, dun,
ding,
dun.
ding, 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 ding.
That's it. Yeah.
Got it in harmony here. Jesus.
Yeah. 2, 3, 4, go.
Dun, 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 dun.
Now I was impressed with the idea that Barbara Eden didn't play two roles in this.
He did.
Huh?
She did at
Yeah.
one point.
She
She
did.
played her own mother.
No, her sister,
His sister.
Jeannie
Oh.
too.
Oh, Jeannie 2?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's what they
She
call her,
also
yeah.
she also played her own mother in season 4.
Did she?
Yeah.
I remember the sister because it was just her in a brown wig.
Yeah.
In a
Jeannie
green
2,
outfit.
Jeannie
Yeah.
2, the electric boogaloo, or
No, Nerds
Tried
in
to steal her
Paradise.
man.
Yeah. Jeannie Harder.
because they did that also in Bewitched.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
With probably the same wig.
More than likely.
Probably.
Lucy never had a sister.
Lucy didn't need a sister.
Oh, she had a
Yeah.
cousin named Ernie, but no sister.
She
Did she
had.
have a mom?
I
Wasn't her mom in the series?
Lucy's
don't
or
think
Jeannie?
so.
She had Ethel
No,
to play off of. She didn't need a sister or a mom.
that kind of was her sister.
Right.
No, I think the only time they talked about the McGillicuddies is like when they had flashbacks when they were in Ireland, kind of thing. But I don't think the parents were ever shown. I could be mistaken though.
The McGillicuddies.
Yeah, they didn't really talk about parents. They talked about him being in Cuba and being a little boy, but not his mama or anything, you know.
Last you brought up something interesting because I've never seen the pilot, so I never knew that he was supposed to get married. That would have been a kind of interesting dynamic if they introduced the fiance, so you kind of have a love triangle type thing.
Yeah, that would have
Yeah,
been.
because Jeannie appeared in front of the fiance, and of course Tony was trying to hide her, but there she was, and fiance wasn't too happy about it, so it only lasted a couple of episodes.
I guess
I
I had
think
seen
I
those.
kind of remember that.
Which is interesting because that's like the realistic way to play it,
Yeah.
which is weird because why would they do anything realistic when they literally have a genie on staff there? I mean, come on.
True.
Considering this is a sitcom, so yeah.
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 Hmm.
Oh well.
I was trying to remember her name. Karen. The actress's name was Karen something.
Karen Sharp?
That's it. Karen Sharp. Thank you.
Yep. This says she appeared as Melissa Stone in 2 episodes
Okay.
in season 1. Interesting.
Now I think you can see this on Tubi or something. It's on Roku. It's on Tubi.
Where did I see it?
If you go to IMDb, I Dream of Jeannie, it shows up on Roku and Tubi, and I think it's Roku where you can see episode 1.
The Phantom Menace.
True.
Yep, it is showing, or you can buy it from Apple TV, free on Tubi.
Right. Everything's free on Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
You don't mind putting up with commercials occasionally.
Meh.
Yeah, we know you can't. You know, like I can
I don't have.
tolerate it.
Yeah,
You not so much, and that's fine.
I
I would
have no
rather
attention span.
tolerate Tubi's commercials than YouTube's. I really hate it when I get 30 seconds into a video and all of a sudden there's ads. You're like, what the hell?
Tubi's much better at spacing them, for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
What I hate is when you pay for YouTube Premium and then the content creator themselves put the commercial in, and it's like, really? Are you kidding me?
They want to make their money too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know without premium, they're also showing commercials, so I can imagine how annoying that would be. Because
Right.
one
My
guy I
commercial got
watched,
interrupted with a commercial.
Yeah.
yep, I watched Brett Cooper, but she has a way of like making it go into, she kind of segues what she's talking about into the commercial, and then halfway in the commercial, you're like, Jesus Christ, this is like commercial.
Wait a minute, this is a commercial.
Mm-hmm.
But then before she ends the show, she'll do it again. So it's kind of like, wow, okay.
Yep.
Like I
Well,
said, I know
if she
without
sells her own
premium.
commercial time, she gets a bigger cut. Is the deal?
Yep. And she just went solo. So
Mhm.
And this is who again?
Brett Cooper.
Really?
Hmm.
The gal that was on,
Daily Wire.
yeah,
Yeah,
now she is, right?
yeah, that was kind of no. She was on Daily Wire and had like over 5 million watchers, and she had said something that went against Daily Wire, and they gave her show to her best friend. So
Yeah,
she
yeah.
branched out on her own, and
I
without
like
even releasing an episode, she had over 1 million subscribers. So
I
she's
really
doing
like
well.
her.
I
I think
like.
she
She's
covers so
current.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, she's current without really being too biased on it. It's kind of like here's what's going on and here's the facts of it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that word. I'll find
Hmm.
her too.
Yep. Like I said, she does have her own show now. Doing really well. A lot better than her best friend is. Ex best friend, I should say. Wouldn't that be crappy though? You build a show, and her best friend was her producer on this show.
Mhm.
You build this show together, and the next thing you know, they take it away from you and give it to her.
You got to give Daily Wire credit for creating some drama out of nothing. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, but they won't talk about it. They even made Brett sign like an NDA where she can't say a lot of what happened there. But I bet you money her and Ben Shapiro butted heads. That's like their little golden boy. So
Who
I
again?
think the same Ben
Ben
Shapiro.
Shapiro.
Oh, Ben Shapiro. Yeah.
Yep. Him and Candace Owens butted heads, and you see who they kept there too. Which I don't really care for Candace Owens very much, but yeah, it's usually not pretty when you exit from them.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I Dream of Jeannie, huh?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yes, you can start with the season one there. Pilot's called The Lady in the Bottle.
Well, that's a good title.
Mm.
I
You know
bet.
what? There was
Right
the
on the
lady in the
nose.
bottle.
Right on the nose, man. I'm just
Who'd
saying.
have thunk it?
It's a good one.
Genius.
Like
It is.
it's on YouTube. I'll link it to you guys.
Yep. This was, it's a show that I've seen some of, but not because I was a huge fan. Mostly it was one of those, like I've said before, when I was a kid, the TV was on and it was on. And I mean, there weren't a hell of a lot of channels back then anyway.
Right.
So
Right.
you're just
Yep.
kind of watching what's there. And so I would see it, but it never really jumped out at me so much. I mean, there were
And
some
Ah!
interesting fantasy elements to it, but that's about it. So, I mean, I'm not saying I didn't like the show. I did, but I didn't go out of my way for it. I didn't like watch every episode.
I liked it. It had magic, and
Hmm.
as a preacher's kid, that was kind of taboo to watch. Plus, she was half dressed. That was even more taboo. So it was like, God,
I know, right?
I wish
Yeah.
I could be like her.
I'd have probably been all over it if we could see belly button. I'm just saying.
Mm. Mm.
That's crazy, though. The biggest controversy of this show was her belly button.
That was the 60s
That's
for you.
that's the times for you. Yep.
It's the time
Yeah.
because I mean, you got to think. I mean, you want to think of a show like this as being progressive, but this is being. I mean, the money for it comes from people, and let's be honest, it's mostly older men who
Yeah.
have who aren't the ones that are being aggressive. They're still stuck 10 years in the past. So for all
Hmm.
intents and purposes, you're looking at the morality of the 50s in the mid 60s. I mean, that's the kind of shit you get.
Well, I mean, like we talked about before, with the Brady Bunch being one of the first TV shows that actually had the man and wife in the same bed.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, even Dick Van Dyke had separate beds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, didn't they make like headlines when they pushed their beds together? Wasn't that the Dick Van Dyke Show?
Don't recall.
There was a show that did it. I'm not remembering which one it was. It might
Or
have been
was it
Dick
the
Van
Mary
Dyke.
Tyler
I
Moore?
would have thought it would be later than that, but because I mean, Dick Van Dyke Show was late 50s, early 60s.
Something like that, yeah.
I would have thought that would have come in the late 60s. Could be wrong, but she's Googling it now.
Yep. Huh.
Well, I mean, the
It
first
actually said it happened in 1947 with Mary
Oh.
Kay and Johnny.
Mary who?
Wow,
Mary
that's
Kay and Johnny.
really TV.
Hmm It aired from 1947 to 1950.
Ah, see, that's before the 50s, so that would actually make sense because it wouldn't have been a thing until the 50s. Partly because nobody was watching TV up until 1950.
right,
Because
there wasn't a lot of people,
hell,
had
didn't-
Oh,
TV.
they didn't
and
start
do you know
broadcasting
that
until like 46.
Right.
the second couple to have their beds together? Wilma and Fred.
There you go. There's your
Which was
controversy right there.
1960. I don't know if it counts because it was made of rock, but you know.
Well, it was also not real people, so
Yeah.
that probably
Yeah,
helped. They probably got away with a little bit there
a little bit better. Yeah.
by
Mm-hmm.
being not real and not in the modern age.
They said, yeah, it didn't really gain traction until the late. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was something else.
See, she got caught up in an ad again.
They said Ozzy and Harriet shared a bed together, too. They said they possibly broke from that because due to the fact that the actors were really married.
Ah,
Yeah.
that also
Yeah.
makes sense.
But
Mhm.
Lucy and Ricky were, too. And in the early shows, they had their beds separate. And then, like, right before they moved from New York, they pushed their beds together, but they were still made separately. So it wasn't like they were in the same bed. It was
Right.
still, you know,
They were just really close together. They weren't actually touching.
yeah. But they had
Despite
to
the fact that
explain
they had
little
children.
Ricky somehow.
Right. Despite the fact that they had children. I
Right.
mean,
Historic.
why did we lie to ourselves
Yeah.
about how that happens for so long?
Right.
Anyway, that's a much deeper conversation that we're going to have about I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think Barbara Eden got off light since she didn't, by not having to wiggle her nose. She just nodded her head,
Yep.
folded her arms and nodded her head.
Yep. Which that don't work on Big Sisters. Just saying.
I
Which
do not have any trouble believing the fact that you tried many, many times.
Mm-hmm. I can
If
totally
that's
believe
true,
that.
you'll get your ass kicked. So.
Mm-hmm.
And I can totally believe that too.
Mm-hmm.
and if you get a chance, I want you to notice it. Watch episode 1, the pilot, and you will see Tony telling Jeannie to do some magic. And what does he do? He blinks his eyes like Samantha would
Hmm.
in Bewitched.
That's funny. That's funny.
Any final thoughts on I Dream of Jeannie?
To me, it's well worth the time to look
Mhm.
at the early episodes,
Yeah,
catch up, and then go forward.
Yeah, it's a fun show.
it was. Like I said,
Very
I enjoyed when it came on. It came on a block of some other shows we're going to talk about too.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep, it's worth at
good,
least watching a few of them to
clean.
kind of get a
Yeah,
sense of it.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Good, clean
definitely.
fun.
Right. I mean, how many shows about astronauts do you have in that time frame?
Really.
Because
Well,
this is
about astronauts that
pre-moon
were in
landing.
space. Yeah.
I can think of two. You got I Dream of Jeannie, and you've got uh, what was It's About Time. Anybody remember that one?
No,
No.
I thought you were going to say Lost in Space, but anyway.
No, It's About
Well,
Time.
Is that the one where they end up going back in time and they end up like with caveman and all that, and that was with
Yeah.
Imogene Coca?
Yep.
I've seen the opening credits to it, but I've never seen any of the episodes. I couldn't remember
Oh,
what the name of it was.
did your retro guy cover that one?
I don't know if he covered that one or not. It would have to, because I don't think it lasted long. I'll have to look it up, and we can put it in the show notes if anybody's interested in looking at it.
I think It's
wasn't
About
there
Time.
another Genie show that came out like in the 80s? Keep seeing her with like white hair and like curtain bangs, but I can't remember her name. And then I think the show, it wasn't canceled, but they ended it because I think she caught breast cancer. But I thought it was a Genie show also. But
Hmm.
it
Mm.
drives me crazy.
The new I Dream of Jeannie? I don't know.
Did they? That sounds. Is that real?
It could be real. I don't know.
I could almost believe
I
it.
I did. You talk about my retro guy. I did see the opening credits for the new Monkeys here a couple weeks back.
Hmm.
I'm sure you're glad that I brought that up, Mike.
The new monkeys.
Yes.
I remember when that happened. I didn't. I didn't watch it for very long.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty bad.
Yes. Hey, one good thing came out of it. A lot of love and attention for the original Monkeys.
Oh, big time.
Big time. So, hey, something good did come.
One of the major TV movies was called I Still Dream of Jeannie. Maybe that's
Maybe.
It could be.
what we were thinking about.
But was that Barbara Eden too?
It was.
Okay. Hmm.
Larry Hagman didn't come back. Oh, it actually doesn't say why he didn't come back. Said he was unavailable. I guess Dallas was still going on by then.
I think Dallas was still going. And that character was so popular, there was no way in hell he was going to be able to
Yeah.
take a couple of episodes off to do a TV movie.
It drive me crazy.
God, there's so much a rabbit hole here. I looked up It's About Time,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew I recalled this. Joe E. Ross was in it. He played a caveman, Gronk.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry to say that I remember the theme song for this show too. So that's how much it was ingrained in. It only ran one season.
Yeah. What year?
66.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
66.
66, 67
Yeah.
season.
There was a show in '97 called You Wish.
Okay.
That had a genie as one of the main stars.
Was
Doesn't
that
appear to
it,
be
Liz?
related at all.
Oh, okay. Was that what you were thinking about, Liz?
What was the name of it?
You Wish.
The teen
Maybe.
It was
accidentally
on.
wishes his younger brother away.
What year is that? 2003? No, I think this was older.
97. 1997.
I wanted to say it was like, maybe was it Aunt Jillian that played it?
Now, she played a ghost.
Yeah.
She played a
Maybe that's
ghost, but she
what I'm
didn't.
thinking. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Jennifer slept here, wasn't it?
Yeah.
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 Maybe that's what I'm confusing.
Yeah, because I think she left It's a Living to do that. Or It's a Living was already over with. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because that's where she
Broke out.
became popular. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's on one of the retro videos.
Yeah. That's why they quit that one, is because she did get breast cancer. So
Yeah.
that was the show I was
That's
thinking of.
there you
Okay.
go.
Question answered.
Yay, we found
Yeah.
it.
Yay.
Yay. Thank you guys.
Liz will be able to sleep tonight. Well, if she doesn't, it will be
Right,
because of
kinda.
that.
Now she's made me want to watch It's a Living. Good Lord.
Not enough hours in the day for all the stuff to watch.
Nope.
I hadn't seen that in forever, but I thought that was like halfway decent show. It's a Living.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I would really love to see again? Because it's a show that would never be done today. Boost and Buddies.
Yeah. That one was pretty good. No, that one could not be made today.
Why not? No, I'm serious. Why not?
Well, I think that one line that popped in my head as soon as you said booze and buddies was Bambi's got her hand stuck in the hormone. The girl that they worked with. But
Mm-hmm.
I think people would see it as kind of a mocking thing instead of an accepting thing, because they didn't want to be seen as girls, but they had to live where they did, still wanted to be masculine. So I think it would kind of break the norms, and people wouldn't like that. It would come off a little more as mocking than just lighthearted fun that it was meant to be.
Right.
They weren't
It's essentially
meaning to.
fantasy, and that
Right.
wouldn't
They
come
weren't
across
trying
as
to
fantasy
punch
today.
down or, yeah. Yep.
Right. For the most part, they dealt with it. I mean, there
Mm.
are obviously exceptions, but for the most part, they dealt with it fairly responsibly and respectfully. Um, Mainly because they just didn't deal with it at all.
Yeah,
Right.
But
I thought so.
you couldn't do that today. You
Mm-mm.
couldn't. Somebody would
Because
be
it was,
offended.
yeah, because it was too light-handed. and it would be, it's not serious enough. And yeah.
Right. People that would find it funny, and there would be people that would absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of not how Hollywood works.
Yeah.
Hollywood's trying to please as many people as they can and not offend everybody. Sometimes they fail, but they do
Sometimes
try.
fail gloriously.
Oh, yeah. But usually they are trying not to offend everybody.
Right.
And it would be too easy to offend a lot of people with that.
Mm-hmm.
So on that off tangent note, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break and be back with Geek News for You. Welcome back. It's time for Geek News for You. In this segment, we bring a couple of news items to the table for discussion. And this week, it is Mike and myself. And Mike, would you go first, please, sir?
Oh, sure. So I found an article that is fairly honest and admits that it's basically just rumor. But that's okay because it's a fun rumor. And it is regarding the upcoming Spider-Man Brand New Day. And this article is calling out the second quote unquote report of who the main villain is supposed to be for the movie. And all of the Magic 8 balls are pointing to Savage Hulk.
Ooh.
So they're saying that Mark Ruffalo is attached to this. So
we're losing Smart Hulk.
So at least for a while.
Well, it seems like a lot of people hate Smart Hulk, and I was like, hey, come on. He's all right.
I mean, I think part of the appeal is that it's the going back and forth thing.
Yeah, I get
I
that.
mean,
I get that.
He's Smart Hulk for a while, and then he's not Smart Hulk for a while. And so I guess this is the idea is this launching, or the idea that this may launch World War Hulk. So, and it's not even, it's right now it's on the schedule for July of 26. So nothing set in stone yet, probably. I mean, there's probably the beginnings of a script at this point. They might even be thinking about casting, but
I thought you were talking about this coming July. It was like, wait, what?
no, July of 26, July 31st, 2026.
Okay.
I may have said that too fast.
Yeah.
No, next July.
Well,
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
I wasn't. I wasn't. I got nothing.
Okay. I was going to say, I know they just moved Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars to the December. So it's like December of 2026 and December of 2027. So.
Okay, so this still does come out before Avengers. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So we'll see.
Yep. Could be fun.
That
Could be.
If nothing else, people love the rumor mill. So.
Oh God. So many rumors.
Mm-hmm.
So many rumors.
Yep, but it's all in good fun.
Like the latest one I saw, which was just before we started up recording. And I'm like, okay, that could work. I don't have a problem with it. Bryan Cranston as Xavier?
That could be fun.
That could be.
Dude can act.
He can. Got range.
Well, I mean, I've seen some fan castings and there was one out there. I'm like, ooh, that would work. And it's a person we've already mentioned. Les has already mentioned him. Mark Strong is Xavier.
Mhm.
That
Like-
to me would make more sense. But
That dude's pretty good too,
Yep. So.
and he's got superhero experience.
Mm-hmm.
Though most people don't talk about that movie anymore.
what, Shazam?
No, he was Sinestro in Green Lantern.
Oh,
He was
he was
pretty good
also
as
in
Sinestro.
Kingsman.
He was really good as Sinestro. He was one of the shining lights of that movie.
Yeah.
There were not a lot of shining lights in that movie,
No, there wasn't.
other than Ryan Reynolds' costume, of course.
Now, you remember when they were talking about that being the Star Wars of superhero movies? Boy, those were the days.
Mm-hmm. To be young and stupid like we were back then.
Mm. All righty. Hey, this comes exclusively from Entertainment Weekly, although everybody else has picked it up since then, and it just dropped today. After a couple of decades of nothing, Marvel and DC are going to start up the crossovers again.
Mm-hmm.
Amalgam?
Steve's been spilling the beans again, didn't we?
We did kind of talk about this not that long ago.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's been some speculations, especially since, they just put out the omnibus of all the crossovers and then do the omnibus of the amalgam books.
Mm-hmm.
There had been some kind of speculations, like what's behind all of a sudden this being put together.
Right.
Is there something? Yeah. Well, what's behind this? So coming in September from Marvel, it is Deadpool Batman, written by Zeb Wells with art by Greg Capullo. So it's going to be beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Then coming in November from DC, it's Batman Deadpool, written by Grant Morrison and art by Dan Mora.
Ooh.
Also a pretty damn good artist.
Yeah.
Oh,
Don't they do Klaus together?
Yes, they're the ones that did Klaus. Yes, Klaus. God,
Yeah.
I love both. I love both these artists.
Mm-hmm.
Mora's. I am so happy that Mora's doing superheroes, because when he was doing Klaus and some of the other stuff, I was like, and I started seeing some of his commission work. I was like, God, DC or Marvel's got to get this guy, and DC did, and wow. He's been knocking it out of the park. The stuff he's been doing for like World's Finest and all that's been great. But here's something else. According to the article, it says accompanying the main one-shot will be a lineup of backup adventures that features exciting Marvel and DC character matchups. So we're gonna have some backup tales having other crossovers.
Sweet.
In these one-shots. It says, however, details on what that is all about, and including who's actually doing the work, will be revealed at a later date. Which, come on, we know what's going to be. It's going to be San Diego.
Mm-hmm. Almost certainly.
Which is almost around the corner. We're just about to June, and it's always in July. So.
And it'd be nice to have some actual comic news happening at San Diego for a change.
Yeah. So.
He said sarcastically.
So this is kind of like I said, I heard the scuttlebutt, but I just went, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, we're seeing it.
We're getting closer to seeing it, that's for sure.
We're seeing at least the covers. So
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
There is.
Very cool.
So, alrighty. Any special shout outs or mentions this week?
Well, not me.
No.
Nothing here.
Okay, we'll move on to our regular shout outs. First off, I want to thank Pop Goes the Culture for allowing us being a part of a great little podcast network. We recommend that you check them out. There will be a link in our show notes. Also, I want you to check out the fine folks who spread the word of the fellowship on Twitter by retweeting our links. And those are better known as Podern Family. Best way to check them out is to do a search, hashtag Podern Family. Scroll through the list, and whatever catches your eye, by all means, download an episode, and we hope you have a great time listening to them. Want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. In our show notes, you'll be able to see a link to where you can check out some of their other pieces of music. Thank you guys as always. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. If you'd like to send us any kind of feedback, there are several ways you can do that. Our email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can go to the website, go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form you can fill out there. As been mentioned earlier, we do have a Discord that is open for everybody to join if you so desire. We do have an open invite on our main page, on our homepage. Discord is free to sign up, and the apps are free in the App Store. We'll post a lot of news items, stuff for discussions, stuff to laugh at, trailers to check out, music to listen to. We'll have some activities as well, so come join us today if you so desire. On social media, we're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. On Instagram, Twitter, and Bluesky, we're at Fellowship Geeks. If you want to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you be so kind as to rate and review our show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We appreciate the support as always. And until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,